Welcome back to the Eczema Warrior podcast. I am so excited to talk about this topic today, all about the power of self validation. Interestingly, I went to a business mastermind yesterday and we talked a lot about external validation and how we as business owners, we tend to seek validation from other people, other business owners, people in our families that we hope to get support from when it comes to our business. And we often struggle to self validate ourselves and trust that the things that we're doing with our business is actually working without needing the validation from others. I thought it was really interesting that topic came up because I actually drafted this episode a few days prior to this mastermind because I know that external validation and self validation is a topic that comes up in people's healing journeys, including yours. So, before we dive into some of the things I want to talk about today, which is what self validation really means, how the lack of it actually shows up in your healing journey, and how you can start validating yourself daily, especially if you're someone who finds yourself asking other people whether or not you're healing or you're constantly searching on social media or online on Google to give you the answers when it comes to your healing. But really, the answer is within yourself. So, we're going to dive into that. But I want to share some life updates. We have an upcoming live summit that I announced in the last episode. It's called the Top 100 Women in Power. I am speaking at the summit, which is coming up on April 21st until the 25th. And there are hundreds of other women who have created amazing trainings teaching you mostly about business, creating wealth, creating success. My masterclass that I created for this summit is all about balancing your health with your business. So, if you're someone listening right now and you don't have a business, it's okay. It's really just balancing your health when it comes to your career or work or school, how to fuel your body in a way that you can show up as the best version of yourself. I'm really excited because that is going to be coming out at the summit on April 21st to the 25th, amongst other thought leaders, other authority figures, other business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches who have created amazing trainings that are worth over $10,000 worth of trainings at this free summit. All you have to do is sign up in the show notes and then you get to access and come to the virtual event. I'm also speaking alongside other successful business owners, for example, Kathleen Cameron, Elena Cardone, and Wendy Porter. If you want to learn all things about business, success, health, wealth, money, all of that, and you are a woman, entrepreneur or not, or aspiring one to be, I would love to see you guys there. You can register in the show notes below. Some other updates is that we've been really busy behind the scenes with lots of clients, which is really good. Our practice is currently booked out until May. So if you've been eyeing, about applying for coaching or working with me, it doesn't hurt to apply in the show notes below, just so that we can get you in the calendar for a discovery call, see how I can help you when it comes to what kind of support you're looking for. And then we can schedule you right away for May before May gets completely booked out. So that's a quick reminder in terms of working with me. What exactly is self-validation? We know when it comes to external validation, that is when we seek acceptance and validation from other people that's not yourself, whether that's your friend, your partner, your parents, right? You're constantly looking for someone to validate that the things you're doing is right or getting praise from others. While it's nice, obviously, to receive compliments from people and get support from people, it's a different story when you're doing it because of lack of trust in yourself or your own insecurity. And so self-validation is really the practice of recognizing and accepting your own thoughts, feelings, your experiences when it comes to your healing as well as your worth. You don't need someone else, like a doctor or dermatologist or your coach or your partner, to tell you that you're on the right track because you already know with confidence that you are. You're basically practicing internal reassurance within yourself with compassion, and you're not relying on other people's feedback to feel like you're doing enough or to feel worthy. So that is basically what self-validation is. And as someone with eczema who is listening right now, and if you don't have eczema, that's okay, because it can really apply to anybody, is we often don't feel seen. Eczema warriors often don't feel seen because, we go to the doctor, You go to the dermatologist, you tell them how you're feeling, you're covered in flares, and they just tell you that there's nothing you can do. You have to just slap on a steroid. So today at a discovery call, and the client told me that his nurse practitioner tells him to slather his hands with steroid cream, put a latex glove over it, and then go to bed every night. Like, that is not a solution that we want, especially as someone who knows that, healing naturally is possible, and someone who actually wants a different treatment outside of just slathering steroids and putting on a glove at night. Like, not to forget the side effects of topical steroids and topical steroid withdrawal. So we kind of go to our doctors to hope that we can have answers, but we don't, right? So oftentimes your chronic symptoms are dismissed. It's misunderstood, or even worse, your doctor will tell you, okay, it's all in your head, right? Like, just get over it. So naturally, as a patient who has symptoms and we don't feel well, we want reassurance from people that are supposed to help us. I'm not trying to shame doctors, by the way. Like, obviously, we need to see our doctor for things, but for certain conditions like eczema, not all doctors are open to healing holistically, or they don't understand that there's a connection between the skin and the gut. And so we're seeking outside reassurance from our doctors who don't have the answers for us. And then we start to feel anxious and feel like, okay, I don't have any other options. And your body actually becomes into a state of stress because now you're like, okay, well, what else can I do at this point? We're going to take a quick pause and share an amazing client testimonial, a review from my client Wagner, who completed Clear Eczema one-on-one coaching a couple months ago. I've just completed Julia's Clear Eczema coaching program, and it has been a remarkable healing experience. Under the guidance of Julia, she has taught me so much in how to heal my eczema naturally through the importance of mind-body connection, mindset, nutrition, and supplements. Julia has grown up with eczema, and she truly understands what I am going through. The coaching calls are really insightful, and the course in the program is really well structured. If you're having eczema and need some support, please don't hesitate to reach out to her. She is a real expert. Thank you so much, Wagner, for sharing this review, and I hope by sharing more reviews and testimonials of people who were able to heal their symptoms and their eczema inspires you that you can do the same. Now let's get back into the episode. So I just want to point that out, that I know as a patient, when you feel misunderstood and your symptoms are being dismissed, when the whole purpose of you to see your physician is to be acknowledged, you kind of lose that trust in yourself and the practitioner that you're seeing if they're not really being supportive. So then when that happens, you're kind of off on your own trying to seek other solutions to help you manage your symptoms. And this becomes the hard part when it comes to self-validation. Because you're so much on your own for a lot of the times, unless, you reach out to someone right away, like for example, me, and we start working together. So you kind of skip that entire process of trying to figure it out on your own. It's a lot easier, I would say, because you get your questions answered right away. We dive right into it. We figure out what your root causes are, and then hopefully it goes smoothly from there. A lot of the times, for those of you listening, I know you have done a lot of things on your own, right? Maybe it's been 2, 3, 4, 5 months, maybe even years, trying to figure this out on your own. And so lack of self-validation starts coming up because if you've been doing this for so long and you're not getting the results that you want, how much can you keep going until you lose trust in yourself? How much can you keep going until you're like, I don't actually think this is working? How much can you go? How long can you go before you decide that you want to give up because it's just not getting the results that you want? So you're on your own on your journey. You don't have anyone else that's really supportive when it comes to the, conventional route, your doctor, your physician. And so already you feel very isolated. And then you have to validate yourself that you're healing. That's really difficult because you don't really feel like you have a lot of support in that sense. And we see that so much in our clients, right? They're burnt out from trying to figure out how to heal with their diet, how to take the right supplements, what to do, what are the root causes, what is my body telling me? And it's just a lot of questions, a lot of confusion, a lot of overwhelm. So the last thing you kind of want to do is be like, it's working. Okay, I trust my body in healing. And so then we start seeking external validation. So we have a little bit of something to tell us that we're on the right track. And usually for people who are trying to heal inflammation, the first thing that we resort to is, okay, let me try and change my diet. So then at least if I change my diet, I can validate myself that I'm doing something good for myself, which is fair. However, we know, or at least if you've been listening to my podcast, you know that diet doesn't solve chronic symptoms for a lot of people. It can for certain cases, for easier cases, but a lot of the times there's deeper layers, there's deeper root causes, there's the emotions, there's the stress that we need to uncover beyond the diet. At this point, you're pushing yourself really through exhaustion and you're not really seeing the results that you want. How can you start self-validating when you're just feeling like you're not seeing the results? Well, first of all, we know that not seeing results is just a thought. It's not actually factual. If you're doing the right things when it comes to your nutrition, supporting your gut, finding your root causes, given that you have clarity around that, then your body's always healing. Right? That's a given. Like there's no way that you're not healing, even if you don't see it on your skin. Your body is definitely healing from the inside, but we can't obviously see what's going on the inside. What I really want you to think about when it comes to doing these things to heal yourself is, are you just focusing on your diet a lot because you want your diet to be the answer to feeling good about yourself? You want to be able to see that, okay, I can change my diet, add more protein, add more vegetables, and that's a tangible thing, right? That you can actually measure. Oh, today I ate 2 cups of vegetables. Like today I made changes to my diet. Those are very tangible things that you can actually measure. So are you doing that, making changes to your diet, making changes to your supplements as a way of an external validation to show that you're doing something rather than nothing? The disconnect here is that even though you're doing something, which is good, it's not actually internally making you feel good about yourself. I know a lot of you guys go on diets, take supplements because you feel like you need to or you have to, instead of really tuning into your body and asking yourself what your body actually needs. So the question I want you to ask yourself is, are you seeking external validation from the things that you're doing outside of you, making strict diet changes, taking so many supplements, buying a bunch of skincare products, but not really knowing what your body really needs? And this can show up in your healing as, number one, overworking or over focusing on your healing. You're constantly researching, you're constantly figuring out what you can do to heal. You're constantly seeking outside of you for answers that are cookie cutter, that don't apply to you, right? Are you getting frustrated with your own skin and your own symptoms? You're telling yourself that you're not healing and things aren't getting better. Do you often question, okay, this is not going to work? Or I don't believe that I can heal naturally, right? A lot of these beliefs actually were ingrained from experiences with your doctor, because a lot of the times they tell you that you have to live with this condition forever. So maybe that has ingrained in a belief in you, and now you're finding yourself having those thoughts. I also want you to think about whether this pattern of needing to have external validation when it comes to controlling things outside of you, like your diet, as I mentioned, if it came from the past, like maybe you had trauma or a childhood experience where you had to prove to your parents that in order for you to be successful, you had to do X, Y, and Z. You had to be perfect with your school. You had to get really good grades. You had to get a good report card, whatever it is. What did you have to do when you were younger to prove something, to prove that you were worthy, to prove that you were enough? Because it's interesting, you can see that same pattern in your current healing journey. If you constantly need to seek validation from someone to tell you that you're on the right track, if you constantly have to feel like you need to do more and control in order to prove to yourself that you're doing enough, rather than just being who you are at this moment and trusting that what you're already doing is enough and you don't have to do more. You don't have to control. You don't have to go on a strict diet, right? A lot of the patterns that we are so focused on today, unknowingly or subconsciously, is a reflection of the patterns we used to have when we were younger. That's something I really want you guys to think about, because it's something I'm noticing in my coaching calls, and it's really interesting because I have a client who has a pattern of overworking when it comes to her school and her work. And she's very, very disciplined when it comes to that. But when it comes to discipline around her health, she tends to fall off. And what we were able to uncover was that this was a belief that was ingrained to her when she was young. Her parents told her that she had to work really hard to be successful. She had to study and get good grades to be successful. So now her focus has always been school and work, that she puts other things on the back burner, which actually are more important for her because you need to have good health in order to thrive in your school and other areas of your life. So that's just one example. Last but not least, how can we start validating yourself daily? Instead of asking other people if you're doing well, if you're on the right track, instead of trying to control your diet, can we come back to yourself and focus on trusting your body and creating an inner connection? Because when you create an inner connection with yourself, you're going to get out of that cycle of seeking external approval, right? So does that look like maybe doing some affirmations every day, speaking to yourself kindly and with grace? I hear you. I believe you. I know you're flaring, and that's okay. Practicing that relationship with yourself. Can you validate your own feelings? Maybe you're having a really hard emotional day today, and that's okay. That's okay to feel the way that you feel, right? Letting yourself feel emotions without feeling like you need to fix it or suppress it. That is self-validation because you're letting yourself feel and you're connecting with yourself and your body. Maybe you can start saying to yourself, it makes sense that I feel this way because XYZ, and that's okay. I'm allowing myself to feel. That's first and foremost, to allow yourself to feel that you want to feel, and then move on to practicing those affirmations to remind you that you are doing enough. You're healing and you don't need to control any more of your diet. You don't need to control any more of your supplements. You don't need to ask and seek approval because the only approval you should have is the approval you have with yourself. And that is what you can start doing in building confidence, creating a better relationship with yourself, self-validating, which is so important in your healing journey. Because at the end of the day, it's you and your body, right? Yeah, you can have a practitioner, you can have a coach, you can have a supportive doctor, right? All of those things are really important with your healing. But the person who's with you at the end of the night, when you're alone in your own thoughts, is you and your body. So we need to start practicing our communication and our relationship with ourselves if we want to see true healing. I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it gave you some insight when it comes to reflecting on your own journey. And if it was helpful, and if any of the other episodes have been really helpful for you, I would really appreciate a review. If you can leave us a review on Apple iTunes, you can leave a 5-star review with a nice comment. That would be very much appreciated. If you're on Spotify, you can also leave a review as well. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day. Go practice some self-validation, and we will see you in the next one.